you are in a position to do, the PhD work, and moreover, as a part of your PhD, you should have a kind of research papers in, ACA indexed journal, Science Citation indexed journals, or maybe a Scopus indexed journal. So according to that particular university norms, so you have to fulfill, and accordingly you will be awarded PhD through, peer review by Indian as well as the foreign examiners. So that is a usual hierarchy in the awarding a PhD in, Indian institutions, including top class tech schools like IITs, NITs, IIITs, and other, ACT approved institutions. So with that, it was in the mind that, so I was an editorial board member of many peer-reviewed ACA indexed journals since 2017. So while I was working at University of Nottingham, UK, Malaysia campus as a faculty, so I could get an opportunity to serve as an associate editor of IET Renewable Power Generation, one of the, top tier journals in the electrical engineering category during 2017. Then slowly I got able to perform well in my editorship. Then it is, I have been invited with many peer-reviewed journals with the different publishers like IEEE, IET, Taylor and Francis, Wiley and Springer as well, so that I could be able to build up my, profile and career in the editorship as well in electrical engineering journals. So with that, I could, handle around 600 manuscripts so far since 2017. So I had an experience in the research articles and written by variety of authors across the world, including US authors or maybe UK author or Australia or Canadian or maybe any, the authors from European Union, or the authors from, Asian countries, including China, Singapore, Malaysia, India as well, so that I get able to identify the, the novelty as well as the, the clarity of the research and what they have, done, and as they wanted to publish the research papers, so that. With that, it was in mind that yes, it is good to share my editorial experience with the, the students or maybe the scholars, so those who are pursuing PhD or maybe masters, so it will give a kind of, ignition, so to start and to accelerate your research work, so that it will come up with certain kind of journal publications or maybe a conference proceedings. So that was the aim. So I have developed to give a talk in this particular area. So more than 35 talks so far I have given, especially on this particular area called the peer reviewed model and the publication process in SCA indexed journals. So of course, the participants, you are going to enjoy completely for another 1.5 hours relevant to this particular talk. And please, you should have a keen interest as well as you should, concentrate on my lecture for another 1.5 hours. Definitely, you will get many ideas and how to write a research paper and what may be the important criteria to follow the journal guidelines and how to get paper published. So this all the information will be shared by me. As someone can ask, so what would be the, in what capacity as we are, delivering a talk in this particular area, maybe to, any of the participants can have a question in their mind that I am an editorial board member and associate editor of many peer-reviewed ACA indexed journals, including IET Renewable Power Generation and associate editor IET Power Electronics and associate editor IET Energy Systems Integration and associate editor IEEE Access, associate editor electrical engineer Springer, and the editorial board member international transactions on electrical energy systems John Wiley, and the editor energy sources Taylor and Francis, and the editorial board member energy and environment Sage Publications, and associate editor Automatica. And you might have seen around out of 9 journals and where I'm serving as an editorial board member, around 8 journals are SCA indexed journals. So maybe you might have come across my profile as well. Even recently, I have floated, special issue in international transactions on electrical energy systems John Wiley, as well as special issue in electrical engineering Springer as well. So with the vast editorial experience, I wanted to share my experience to the participants, so that you will get idea that the paper submission as well as the peer review process is basically a black box model. So what a black box model? And just just simply we are submitting a paper to the particular journal through online submission system in that particular journal with a particular publisher, and maybe after 4 months or maybe after 6 months, and you get the notification or you receive an email from the that particular journal editorial office that your paper has been rejected, or maybe it has come up with a major revision, right? So you feel happy once your submitted paper has come up with a major revision, or you feel sad when your paper has come up with negative decision, what is called rejection, right? So many times we always, as we are all Indians, so we have it's a kind of negative attitude that we do not have any tolerance level in any sense, so whatever, you are in the competition, you wanted to win and you wanted to hold the the first place. So that is what the intention of most of the student as well as the teachers, or as well as any of the researchers. So once the paper we submit to any of the journal, that should be accepted. That is what our intention. But many of the times, it do not happen, because even in my experience in my career as well, very first paper what I submitted to Taylor and Francis, it has got rejected, so always failure is a teacher, right? So I am I could able to observe why the paper got rejected and what was the weakness and the pros and cons of the research and what I have done in that particular paper. Then I could be able to rewrite the paper based on the reviewer comments. Then I submitted after 4 or 6 months to the same journal. Then again it has been accepted. Now it has been published. So this is what. So the as an author of any of the research paper, always you should have a very tolerance level, right? And more and you should not be very sensitive for the decision if it is come up with rejection or any kind of a negative decision, right? So I wanted to highlight all my editorial experience for this the participants, so that you will get some idea. As I told you, as you are submitting paper to any of the journal, it is a kind of black box model. You do not know and what happens, behind the scene, right? And who are all, involving in, handling your manuscript, so that after 4 months you get the notification that it has come up with major revision, right? So this black box model is going to be a gray box model, that I wanted to reveal what was the hidden information available at the backside of the door of that particular journal, so that what would be the important hints as I am going to give for the authors, so that hints are very important while submitting manuscript and while preparing your manuscript as well. So I have taken an example as well as the case study of international transactions on electrical energy systems, published by John Wiley, with an impact factor 1.69. I'm sorry, it is not 1.34, it is 1.69. The 1.34 was 2018 impact factor. So during January it has come up with the 2019 impact factor. It was about 1.69. So I have taken a case study as well as an example of international transactions and electrical energy systems, as most of the participants are from electrical background. So you can understand how the quality and reputation of the journal, international transactions and electrical energy systems, so that you will get complete idea. So how to submit a quality manuscript to this particular journal. But still, whatever be the hints I am going to give here, it is not. It is not only for international transactions and electrical energy systems, and it is a, common idea for all kind of ACA indexed journal published by IEEE or IET or John Wiley or Springer or maybe Taylor and Francis. Okay, yeah. So the content overview, evaluation of journal indexing. So how the indexing will be evaluated, and since 1940, and decide what and when to publish. So what kind of content should be published in the form of research paper, and how to identify a target journal, and how to follow the journal instructions to draft the manuscript, so that you can submit that particular paper to ITES Wiley, and what are all the editors, categories. So who are all the editors, and how the editors are going to be, editors are going to handle the manuscript with the different functionalities, and further the peer review process is going to be, going to be evaluated by one of the editor. So then how you could be able to understand the decision process of that particular manuscript by peer review, and how to revise the paper based on the decision process, and how to answer for the queries, so that you are able to submit the revised version. So it has come up with the decision, what is called accept. Then how to review the reviewing proof, so that it will, your manuscript, accepted manuscript will be appearing online. So the complete the information about and identifying the journal up to the publishing the journal, I am going to give complete instruction. The evaluation of journal indexing is a very important criteria, as we are all aware that there are two indexing database usually we follow, as we are from Indian universities, and we follow either the Scopus that has been developed by an Elsevier, or maybe from the Thomson Reuters. Called Web of Science. So either your institution is AICT approved institution, but still many of the institutions they follow UGC norms as per the for the journal instructions, or maybe as you are from affiliated institute like Anna University, you follow the journal publications announced by Anna University in terms of Annexer 1 or maybe an Annexer 2, right? So basically, most of the institutions, so they always, advise the scholars to publish papers in ACA indexed journal called the Science Citation Indexed, journals, and that has been, promoted by a Thomson Reuters, and since 2017, it was, formulated by Clarivate Analytics, right? That is called Web of Science. So, and that Elsevier, it has been with, it has developed the Scopus, and since 1080. So then, with that slowly it has come up with the Web of Science and cross reference of the e-journal content during 1900, and again 1998 it has come up with the Google. The Google has been launched with the Google Scholar during 1998. During 1997, it was with the Web of Science called the Thomson Reuters. And further, 2014, it has come up with the Scopus. So, 2004, and the Scopus has been developed by Elsevier. So, that is one of the major indexing database developed by Elsevier. Even still, when the Western universities, the Western countries in the Europe, so they always follow the guidelines to publish papers in Scopus indexed journals. And still, and many of the universities, they advise the scholars to publish even in conference proceedings indexed by Scopus, right? And even during 2010, it has come up with the digital library. So with the mobile phone, still you can access the complete manuscript or the published papers. So you can see the across the globe, and the Thomson Reuters, the Clarivate Analytics. So it plays a very major role. To launch idea about the impact factor journal that includes Science Citation Index, that is ACI, short form is called the ACI, or Social Sciences Citation Index, and someone works in arts and humanities, and you can have an indexing database called Arts and Humanities Citation Index, right? So, and you can see the flagship citation indexes, by Web of Science core collection, and either it is an ACI index expanded, that is called a Science Citation Index expanded journals, or Social Science Citation Index, or Arts and Humanities Citation Index. So these three, the indexing database, are come up with impact factors. So if you publish any of the papers indexed in these three databases, of course they have an impact factor, right? And new edition has been launched by Web of Science since I think 2014, if I'm not mistaken, with the emerging sources citation index. So any of the journal, it is a very emerging area with a very multidisciplinary aspect, or maybe a kind of particular journal, and still they does a peer review with quality publications, and moreover, if they get kind of more citations, so now they are, the entry level for the impact factor, by Web of Science, is an emerging sources citation index, but still the journals are indexed in emerging sources citation index. It is not with the impact factor. So they do not provide any impact factor for ESEA. So they provide impact factor for only these three indexing databases developed by Clarivate Analytics. So across the globe, and SCI and SCIE indexed journals, a total of 9,200 so far. And social citation index, the total journals are about 3,400, and arts and humanities citation index journal about 1,800, and emerging sources citation index about 7,800 journals. So this was classified by Clarivate Analytics. Still, you can get the complete the master's journals list in this web page called mjl.clarivate.com. So a broader view for the scholarly literatures and considering impact and output. That is important. That is the important key criteria for classifying journals with impact factor by Clarivate Analytics. And yes, let us come to an important point. So everybody, as we are all aware of that, the writing paper is a skill for first of all, you know. So I mean, how someone acts in the movie, so ultimately, it is a kind of skill to impress the audience. So similarly, so writing paper is a skill. Someone write the story, or someone write the novel, and someone write the magazine, or someone write the research paper. Still, it is very interesting by the audience. So audiences are basically judges. I mean, they judge the quality of the, writing, right? So the many papers are badly written, especially the, especially the authors from the countries, those who are non-native speakers. Basically, we Indians are non-native speakers. Our mother tongue is, have a different language like Tamil, Malayalam, Telugu, or maybe Hindi, right? So we have a different, languages according to our mother tongue. So we are not native speakers. So we are, we follow the, the technical language is called English. So throughout the career, we study the subject in English, but still we are not native speakers. So that is what we are unable to express the, we are unable to express our feelings in English. That is what. So many papers are badly written, so good writing is a skill you can learn, of course, by reading many number of literatures, by reading more number of articles. So we used to build our writing skill as well as the speaking skill by learning many vocabularies as well as the idioms and phrases as well, right? So good writing is a skill you can learn, right? So it is a skill that is worth learning. Obviously, it is a kind of skill and that is worth learning. Still, see, someone is I am delivering a talk, right? So it is a kind of skill to impress the participants. So you should feel happy from a lecture. Yes, what Dr. Chittibabu is speaking. So how the content is very useful, whether it is worth learning or not. So it is a kind of impressing the audience, right? So you will get more grade point, more papers accepted. This is the usual hierarchy. Someone does masters or maybe MS by research or maybe PhD. In any of the institute of higher learning. So if you publish more number of papers and you will be impressed by your supervisor, ultimately and you will get the more grade as well, and your ideas will have a more impact. It's very important thing. So how your ideas are becoming, yeah, kind of, the research, it has an impact with paper publishing, right? So your ideas are very important because so your ideas, ideas can come at any time. Any of the, scholars. But when ideas will come, nobody knows, right? Maybe someone is writing on the, or someone is walking on the road. Then you can understand that there is a heavy traffic in the, the heavily populated cities like Kolkata or Chennai or maybe Bangalore. So someone is walking on the road. They could find the heavy traffic and the city is very congested and it has a very, the road traffic that may lead to accidents. So that was so as an electronics engineer is working on the road, so they can identify so how to minimize the accident and how to reduce the traffic in the heavily populated cities by developing an algorithm. With the help of very embedded system, maybe using either 32 or 64-bit processor, so that you can write a coding for the traffic light controller with maybe 100 or 200 lines, so that can be executed in a faster way so that the traffic would be minimized in the stipulated time period. So this is what is called idea, right? So whatever you do your work or you perform your task, so ideas can come at any time. If someone is reading an article and they could identify a problem with the paper, so your ideas will come. That is what. So the ideas can come at any time, right? And you will have better ideas as well. So the experience is very important. That is what I told you. Failure is a teacher. So once you get, once you fail in that particular subject or maybe a particular area, so you will learn many things from that. Failure, right? So presentation will provide an overview of how to write well-structured research paper for publication in IT is not IET. It is International Transaction Sun Electrical Energy System Violet with editor perspective. So that I am going to explain. So what is the motivation to publish? Yes, as you are all participants. Yes, someone asks you why you publish the paper. Yes, someone tell around 54 percentage of the the scholars. So they tell that is for dissemination. That dissemination means that outcome of your research. As a part of your PhD, yes, I wanted to disseminate so that my degree should be awarded, right? And around 20% of the first choice would be a I mean, the career perspective. So they're career oriented. Yes, if I publish more number of papers, so then I will get a good job in any research and development organization, so that I can become a very active scientist to do so to solve any real-time problems in any R&D organization or maybe an industry, right? And still many of the academicians, so they does PhD for the promotion and as well as for the improved funding as well, 13% for the first size with the improved funding, maybe for eco balance about 9%, and the patent protection. Sir, still I'm interested to solve the problem and to find a kind of product oriented research. So maybe I wanted to have a kind of patent protections for IPR. I mean intellectual property rights filing, or rest 5% for any other reason. Maybe someone, get PhDs. I wanted to get married with my name, Dr. B. Chittibabu. And still many people have the tendency. Yes, I wanted to have, the PhD so that my name followed by doctor, right? So these are the, information that has been delivered by Michael Baba at 2003 in the Elsevier, study. Around 36,000 authors are voted for this particular survey, right? So authors publishing priorities. Why authors publishing priorities? What they get the priority, basically the quality and the speed. What would be the quality of research and what would be the speed of publication? So these two key factors are very important while deciding a particular journal. Of course, the journal should have an impact. It should be very quality, right? And moreover, yes, as I'm submitting my research paper today, it has to be published in another couple of months. That is for the speed of publication as well as the peer reviewing process. So these are the two, key factors that governs the author's publishing priority. And the top items were basically the reference speed. So the speed means the how the peer reviewed process is going to happen, and moreover the what would be the standard of refereeing. For example, if you submit your research paper to the very top class journal in electrical engineering category called the IEEE, any IEEE transaction if you submit, so the peer review process is very excellent. Your paper will be screened by at least 6 independent reviewers. You see the quality of the reviewing. So that is what it holds always top rank among all electrical engineering journal. IEEE holds top rank because the refereeing process is extremely good. At least they consider minimum 6 reviewers. The reviewer comments to take the decision, right? That is called the refereeing standard and quality. And the journal reputation. So the journal reputation is very important. So you cannot blindly submit your paper to any of the journal. Yes, I am submitting a paper to one open access journal. So it is not a criteria for your quality research. Still, the reputation of the journal is very important. So that is what as an electrical engineer, if I do research in electrical engineering, maybe in the power and energy, or maybe signal processing, or maybe communication engineering, or maybe automation, or maybe control or image processing, still I target IEEE. So that reputation is very important, right? That is author's, perspective. And still the quality of editorial board and physical quality and the publication services are also very important. That is what the, what is called the reputation of the publisher as well. Yes, it's a well-known publisher is IEEE, right? So as an electrical engineer, yes, I have a dream to publish my research paper in IEEE. That is what the dream of all authors, those who do research in electrical sciences, right? So authors and readers behavior. This is very important because one day you are an author, another day you are a reader, right? So authors, motivation is want to publish more number of research paper. Why? You wanted to get more credit points, and you wanted to get promotion, you wanted to get settled in your life, you wanted to have an excellent career, so you wanted to publish more paper, right? Peer review is very essential. But still, whatever if the quality of research, what I does, ultimately that has to be peer reviewed so that it can have a quality of research, right? And other journal functions crucial and wider dissemination. So this wider dissemination is very important. So how your manuscript or the published paper will be disseminated to the audience so that they can use your concept for maybe for for kind of product product development, or maybe the the design development. So that wider dissemination is also an important for author behavior. Let us come to the reader behavior. Want integrated system, right? Of course, it has to have a complete integrated. Once if I could read the article, I should get complete insightfulness about that particular research. And the browsing is very crucial. Yes, I can easily download the manuscript either using Google Chrome or maybe Mozilla or maybe from Microsoft Edge. So that browsing, and I can easily identify your research paper by searching or by Googling. And quality information is very important. Yes, as whatever I would read the paper, and the research paper. So that should have a quality information so that it will ignite me and it will accelerate me to do further research. I wanted to read less paper. Why? We are all readers, right? So I cannot read all the newspaper. I mean, today's morning, either it is a Hindu or maybe Indian Express or maybe a Dinamalar or maybe a, Dinatandi. Still, I wanted to read less, but it should have a quality information. That is what again that has been delivered by Michael Mapp during that ALPSC seminar. Launched by Elsevier with. That they could take. Again, survey from the. The same 36,000 authors. This was the information. Yes, now the reader priorities. So the reader's priorities are very important. So authoritative quality articles, of course. I could read very quality newspaper because they give very real information without any fact or without any kind of the fixed is story and easy of access. So that can be easily accessed while accessing in online or maybe in the digital library. So the rapid delivery is also very important and convenient format because so the format is one of the criteria to submit your research manuscript with affordable style. The format is very important now. Most of the journals and they have their own formatting, either in the Microsoft Office format or maybe in the PDF or maybe in the LaTeX format. It's quite easy for the readers to read and remake the manuscript. And the linking of information, called the clustering is also very important priority for the readers and low or no cost. Yes, as a reader, if I wanted to read a quality manuscript, still I should spend zero. $0 or zero Indian rupees. It implies that it can be easily accessible in online without paying any payment for downloading an article and up to date information. Yeah, that is very important because yes, as I'm doing my PhD in this year 2020, I wanted to read very current, very recent papers in that particular area. So these are the priorities of the readers, right? So key elements for publishing. Yes, as I'm going to publish my research article, what would be the key element? Ethical issue. Of course, it is very important because as we should have a professional ethics while submitting a research paper for publications, and the style and the language is another important key elements of publishing. And what would be the style of the manuscript and what would be the language? For example, the example of style is IEEE style, as you might be knowing. So IEEE, they have their very unique formatting of conference proceedings as well as the journal publication, right? That is called the style and the formatting and the structure of the paper. And what would be the structure of the paper? And what are the important components of any research paper to be published? And what would be the article submission and the journal selection process? And finally, how the publishers it follow the peer review process. So these are all the key elements of publishing, right? Now let us come to an important point in your research: deciding what and when to publish. Yes, as I am in the second year of my PhD, and what should write and what should I submit as the research manuscript, right? And I went to publish. Yes, I am in the year of third year of my PhD, either doing part time or maybe full time. So, is it the right time to submit my research paper? That is what very important. Some factors to consider: basically the quality of the work and what kind of work you have done, either in the kind of simulation or maybe a kind of numerical analysis or maybe a kind of data collection or maybe a kind of experimental work. So the quality of work is very important, and moreover the extension of the work. As we are all doing research in engineering, basically we follow the incremental research because someone might have done the work and it has been published very recently. So by reading the published research paper, we could be able to identify the research gap in the particular paper that we wanted to fulfill, right? That is the extension of any of the work that has been recently available in the literature or maybe the interest to others. So that interest to others is very important because as you know that someone works in the smart grid or maybe a microgrid, it is one of the emerging areas you are all knows. So yes, I am doing a research in the very emerging area of research in the electrical power. So it implies ultimately it is an interest to others. It's mind blowing. Yes, if someone do the research in smart grid, I'm happy to read the paper because that is a paper. It is relevant to microgrid because it is an emerging area, right? Suggestions. So I mean, the seek guidance in this regard from others in your field who are more experienced in publishing journal articles. It's very important. Yes, someone. You could be able to. Decide what to publish or when to publish. Then you have to get the guidance from the persons who are frequently publishing papers in the journal. And moreover, that is what you should have your PhD supervisor, so supervisor is an experienced researcher, so he can suggest you when to submit your research manuscript and what would be the, quantify and quality of your work. Accordingly, he can suggest you when to submit and when to write your paper, right? So present your work orally first, right? Doing so can help in deciding whether the work is publishable and in shaping the paper. That is very important. So you have to, present your paper orally. That is what, all in institutions, they have the doctoral committee, right? That is called the DC. And even in here in IIITTM, we have a DC committee members, including head of the department and the supervisor, and two members from outside of the department. So they form a DC. So in front of DC, every 6 months, you have to give your presentation, right? So by your presentation, of course, the committee will decide you. Yes, you have done, substantial work in this area. Yes, now you can able to, write a paper and submit whatever you have done so far, right? So, and they will suggest you whether the work is publishable and in the shaping the paper or not, right? Now, a very important thing, even with the groundbreaking research, unless the paper is correctly written, at best, publication will be delayed, at worst, never published. That is what. Even you do very groundbreaking research, but still your paper is not well organized, it is not presented, it is not well presented, your paper may get delayed for publication. It will come up with many revisions, maybe sometimes it never published. Then maybe you have done an excellent research during 2019, but due to poor quality of writing, so you are keep on submitting paper to many journals, your attempts are getting failed. Maybe after 3 or 4 years, if you submit to any of the journal, and they will immediately tell that yes, the work is already old, that is similar works have been published by the recent researcher. You can find the relevant references. That is what. So they are writing a research paper as a skill, so that has to be written in an excellent way. Then only your paper will be published in time, right? So identifying a target journal. Yes, excuse me. Yes, someone is knocking my door. I will come in. 2 minutes, please. Okay, so sorry for sorry for the disturbance. Yeah, and identify. Can you able to follow me, dear participants? Yes, someone can respond. Can you able to follow me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. Yeah, now identifying the target journal. Yes, what? How to identify the target journal? Yes, someone is working in renewable energy, right? For example, someone is working in photovoltaic, energy conversion device. How to identify the target journal? Because as you know, if you search in Google, if you search in Google like journal, renewable energy, and just search renewable energy journal, you will find more than 100 journals by different publishers. Even Elsevier itself, they have many journals with title energy, right? Energy, renewable energy focus, energy for sustainable development, and Journal of Photovoltaics, International Journal of Hydrogen Energy, Energy and Environment, and Energy for Sustainable Development, and Energy and Buildings, and Sustainable Energy and the Smart Grid, and Journal of Power Sources, and International, Journal of Power and Energy Systems, Electrical Power System Research. Still, they have a variety of journals, and the Journal of Energy Institute, Journal of Franklin Institute, Automatica. So, in this, by searching the title itself, energy, you have a variety of journals. Sir, how can you identify a particular journal for publishing my research work? So your paper, what you are submitting, that has to be exactly fit into the scope of that particular journal. So sometimes still you do not identify the target journal. Means the very important thing, decide yearly. What decide yearly? Yes, you should have a tendency. I wanted to publish my research paper in Elsevier journal called Renewable Energy. So you decide, which journal you wanted to submit. It is very important. Do not write the paper, then look for the journal. And many of the researchers, they follow reversely. Someone write a paper, after that they think, sir, where to submit this paper? You will ask your supervisor. Your supervisor will suggest you that he has published a number of papers in that particular journal. Then he will tell you, yeah, you can submit paper to this journal. Maybe your work is quite outside of the scope of that particular journal, your paper will be summarily rejected. It implies that, so first you decide where to publish your research paper. Yeah, you decide, yes, I wanted to publish my research paper in IEEE transactions and power electronics. Then after you have interest to publish paper to only IEEE transactions and power electronics, it implies you forget about all other journals. So you will always have a tendency to publish the research paper. Right. Someone I think have a very unique idea that yes, if you ask, would you like to watch? Vijay movie. By default, they'll tell yes, I like Vijay. I'm a fan of Vijay. So I'm a diehard fan of Vijay. I used to watch all the movies acted by Vijay. Right. So it implies that you always, target the particular journal means so you are bound to become a fan of that particular journal. So you wanted to bound, you want to be, you are well acquainted with the complete instructions about that particular journal. So it is good to understand the journal policy, editorial process, and peer reviewed, and you are always read the up-to-date information about that particular journal. So it is good to publish your paper with that particular journal. So participants, please decide the journal yearly before drafting the paper, right? Look for the journal that you have published work similar to yours. It is very important when submitting the paper and from which journal you have referred many of the papers for your research. So mainly you target that particular journal, right? For example, many of the, even I could see many of the papers, submitted by the many Indian authors. So they, cite many of the papers from, Elsevier, but they, submit paper to Springer Journal. So sometimes they feel, what he is, referred most of the papers from Elsevier journals, but he is keen to submit paper to the Springer. So it implies that the irrelevancy, that there must be a relevancy with your, submitted manuscript as well as the references as well. That is what. So you target the journal where you have referred most of the papers, right? Then if you submit it, it is good that they can understand as he has referred many of the papers from our journal, and so that he is keen to submit his research paper. So there is a possibility of paper acceptance as well, right? So consider journal that you have published work that you will cite. That is what always, submit your research paper from which journal you report most of the research, right? That is very essential to identify the journal. And some factors to consider, obviously audience. So audience are judges because they are the readers. So you have to impress the audience so that it will be, it will be, I mean, I mean, read by, lot of authors. So they will cite your work. So it will enhance your citation and H index in your Google Scholar or your Scopus profile. And moreover, it will come up with more citations, so more visibility and more outreach. Ultimately, the journal will become number one, right? So the audience and the prestige, obviously. Then accessibility. So whether your manuscript will be easily accessed by the other authors. So how the, the subscribing policy and the impact factor. So impact factor is an important component of, awarding PhD as well, and the publication time. So this is one of the important factors to consider while submitting a research paper. And what would be the publication time, starting from, date of submission till the date of publication, and what would be the average time period. Now most of the journals, they do not reveal the publication time, but still now many journals, they have started to reveal this information, the publication time in the homepage of that particular journal. Mostly the Elsevier, they used to reveal their peer-reviewed timing as well as the publication. Even the Springer Electrical Engineering, where I am an associate editor, they reveal the information about the publication time. And the quality of reproduction is also very important, because after publishing your research paper, how the paper looks like, that is very important. And the likelihood of acceptance. And what would be the acceptance rate? That is also another important factor when submitting your research paper. So most widely, you can target any of the journal having an acceptance rate of at least 30%. So if the acceptance rate is 30%, you will have a good chance to get paper published. And better to solve a real problem than to design a solution looking for one. That is what as an engineer, you always try to solve the problem, real problem. That is very much essential. You have to do the hardware experimentation. That is what I'm telling. As we are a hardcore electrical engineer. So now let us come to an important journal. It's called International Transactions on Electrical Energy System. So I'm going to give a complete idea about the paper submission as well as publication in ITES Wiley. So International Transactions on Electrical Energy System publishes an original research on the key advances in the generation, transmission, and distribution and conversion of electrical energy systems. Formerly it was the European Transactions on Electrical Power, and since 2016 it has been renamed to International Transactions on Electrical Energy. And the editor in chief is Professor Chong Kong from the Tsinghua University, China. And it has a particular interest with the submission concerning the modeling, analysis, and optimization, and the control of power, advanced power, electrical power, and energy systems, and the grid-connected power electronics converters and renewable energy integration as well. So this has been indexed in SCIE, Science Citation Index Expanders and Scopers, as well as the Clarivatic Analysis. The Web of Science. It has an impact factor about 1.69 as of 2019. So you will get the complete idea about the journal in this web page. And the journal instructions to authors are available in this the journal web page. Just you go to the author's instruction on this particular journal web page, you will get an idea. Right. Still, the collection of instructions form are available in this online digital library with Wiley, and the manuscript can be submitted through this online. From the Scholars Manuscript, that is the manuscriptcentral.com, and slash ITES for International Transactions on Electrical Energy Systems. Now, using the journal instructions are very important. Read the instructions to authors before starting to prepare your paper. And as we are all Indian authors, we never follow the author's instructions. Just we blindly write according to our own wish. That is called the free formatting. So still, many of the journals they accept the free formatting of the journal. Right? A free formatting means you can use any style to write, any font, or maybe any font size, or maybe you can write in any referencing style. But 70% of the journals they follow strict guidelines while drafting a manuscript. So you have to read the instructions very carefully. Even ITES, they follow the journal guidelines. They follow the author's instructions very strictly. Right. Consult the instruction while preparing your paper. So you can consult someone who has recently published the research work in that particular journal. Then check the instruction again before submitting your paper. That is very important, because sometimes if you do not follow the author's guidelines or the instructions strictly, sometimes your manuscript will be returned once you submit. So because the editorial office always check your manuscript once you submit it, then they will check and whether the author has followed the journal instructions or not, whether he drafted a manuscript according to our journal formatting or not. They check it. Right? Some questions that instruction may answer. And what categories of the article does the journal publish? Yes, someone can ask, sir, what kind of, what are the categories of the article does the journal publish? Yes, maybe usually there are three categories. One category is what is called original research or regular research paper. What you submit with the standard, size of the manuscript about 5,000 words. Please remember. So if you have paper with 5,000 words and having maybe 15 pages with a single, column with 1.5 line spacing. That is a standard research paper called what is called original research, or maybe the regular research paper or a full paper, right? That is another category is called a short paper. Someone might have done a new mathematical modeling of any electronic device, or maybe and he has discovered any kind of converter topology. So that what kind of new topology you have made, still you can precisely write about the particular new topology in 3 to 4 pages. That is called the short paper, or in electrical IEEE tape they call the electric, letters. So IEEE Transaction and IEEE Power Electronic Society, they have one letters called IEEE Power Electronic letters. So they publish very short papers, maybe 3 to 4 pages, right? Another category is what is called review paper. Still, many of the Indian authors they target to publish the review papers. The review papers mean just taking the summary of the previously published papers and what was the pros and cons of that particular research paper. That you take a complete summary about recently published article about 75 to 100 papers. You can frame a, you can draft a manuscript called regular, review paper. So any research paper come under these three categories: regular papers, short papers, and the review papers, right? And what would be the maximum length of the article? For regular research paper, it should have a maximum of 5,000 words. That is quite common in all journals. But IEEE having a different formatting style, because for IEEE, if you submit the regular research paper, it should have a maximum of 8 IEEE double column. 8 pages with the double column. That is, please keep remember. So if you submit below 8 or above 8, your paper will be written immediately. So they always, allow for peer reviewing with maximum of 8 pages IEEE double column format. And still, ITES file it follows around 20 pages and with 1.5 line spacing with the Times New Roman, font size 10. And does the journal have template for article? If so, how can it be accessed? Of course. And while they also they have their own format, one template. So you can click here, you will get the word template for ITES, International Transactions on Electrical Energy System, right? And what section should the article include? What are the guidelines for it? Everything will be available in this link. Once you click, you will get the template for drafting a manuscript using Microsoft Word. And as well as the what is called the latest formatting is also available in the journal web page. And some questions: what guidelines should be followed regarding the writing style, and that must be available. Most widely, the very acceptable font is called Times New Roman with the font size 10. It is a very the very common font for writing a research article. And how many figures and how many tables are allowed, that is very important. Even in Wiley, it should have 10 standard figures with a maximum of 4 tables. So that has to be. And what format should reference appear? So what would be the formatting of the references? Because as I could publish number of papers in IEEE, I know what will be the IEEE formatting. So IEEE formatting is basically the author with double quotation, title of the paper, then closing the double quotation, then what is the IEEE transaction, what is the particular transaction, then volume number, issue number, number of pages, then what would be the year of publishing. That is the formatting. So how to, what would be the reference formatting? That also very important you want to follow. IT is Wiley formatting. Is there maximum number of references? So, but most widely for any research paper, it should have a maximum reference of 30. That would be more appropriate. And what electronic format should the paper be prepared? Either you can use Microsoft Word or maybe a PDF or maybe a LaTeX. So these are the three very acceptable format in any of the journals by any publisher. Still, you can submit into Microsoft Office or maybe a LaTeX. But still now the LaTeX is very emerging format for writing a research paper by the many of the researchers. Still, I follow the the Microsoft Office. Still, we write the paper, very quality paper we publish. And the ITS format, the scientific paper should have the introduction and what was the question. And the introduction is basically the hypothesis of your research work, right? So what would be the, relevant literatures, and then what would be the research gap, identify you. So that has to be summarized with your proposed work. So that is called what was the question in the introduction. So the introduction broadly speaks about your past research and the present research and what would be the the feature research. So that has to be summarized with maximum of 1,000 words. That is called the introduction. And what would be the research methodology? So the research methodology is an important component. So that bridges that bridges science with engineering. So the research methodology is what is called the mathematics. So any engineering problem can be solved. Fundamentally and mathematically, right? So your essence of research should have a scientific research as well as a mathematical research, and finally it has to have an engineering research, right? So the research methodology is very important. So how did you try to answer it? And what would be the relevant mathematical description of your research work? And how you are able to correlate with the fundamentals of the science? Then how this can be, this can be easily solving any real-time problem. That is what is called engineering. Then what would be the relevant prototype model and how the experimental result has been validated. So these are all has to be, has to be narrated in an excellent way. That is called a research methodology. Is basically a heart of your research work, right? So that is very important. If many times you compromise your research methodology in the research paper, ultimately your paper will be rejected. And the results and discussions are very important. So what was the observations and what are the relevant results? That has to be discussed, scientifically as well as mathematically. And complete the formatting is available in this journal template. And the draft structure, you should have an introduction. I told you the introduction, it should start by talking broadly about your topic, then narrows down to your own research and the methods. And what would be the research methodology you follow? So please focuses on your own research and the results narrow down and focuses on your own research. Always, in introduction, you can broadly talk about your particular area of research, but especially in the research methodology and the results and discussion, you have to narrow down to your own research. Always you should have your own voice in research methodology as well as in the research and discussion part, right? So starts narrow down and then broaden to discuss others' research, then wider implication. So these are the, this is the draft structure. So more complete view of the paper, you should have a title, authors, abstract, and what are the keywords, and some journal they follow the, indexing, what is called the, index, and the introduction, methodology, results and discussion, acknowledgement, references, some appendices. So some appendices are very important to give the complete mathematical description about your particular methodology that can be written in the appendices, and still the acknowledgements are very important. So this is the complete structure of any of the research paper that has to be submitted to any of the journal, not only for ITES Wiley. So that if your draft should have this all the section. So this is the complete research paper. So that can be submitted to any of the journal. And while submitting your research paper, what are the things to be done in your paper? What are the things not to be done while writing your research paper? Because even in Wiley as well as in any of the journal, usually we commit a mistake. Whatever you follow, but we never follow. Whatever you don't follow, but we always follow. That is what, because always we have a tendency to think negatively, right? Be a pessimistic, we always take reversely, right? So communicate your ideas very clearly and precisely, but we never communicate our ideas very precisely. What does it mean? Just you get the IV characteristics of the photovoltaic model, you write about 2 pages about that IV characteristic. Why? The IV characteristic curve is simple, non-linear, as the that output current having logarithmic relationship with the what is called logarithmic relationship with the short circuit current. So that can be written very directly in 2 to 3 lines. So why you wanted to write about 1 page about that particular the graph? That is what. So don't write about the story about that particular result. Just communicate your ideas very clearly and very precisely. Right. That is very important. And highlight the ideas and the methods used in the research. Justify your research with specific reasons. Why? Because many of the authors they have a tendency. So if in the research section, if you add 10 or 20 figures, it implies that we have done an extensive research, that paper can be accepted. Absolutely, it is a wrong idea. If you add more number of figures, it shows that what you have done, just you are completely diluting the research what you have done. It should have a very specific figures, so that has to highlight the originality as well as novelty of your research work, right? So don't add too many figures. Instead, you can add table. So single table can replace 4 number of figures. That is what your instructions as well as your work must be very crispy and very novel, right? And make sure whatever the information you present, the readers are able to form right and thorough conception of the topic in all its aspects. That is what, this is what is called the organization of your research manuscript. So starting from your abstract and till the conclusion, you should have a continuous flow. Otherwise, what happened? For example, as you are reading a newspaper, there was a story about the particular, news. What happened? If there is no flow between the para to para, ultimately you will get confused and you get bored. You do not read the paper. Why? The news is very fact news. As I'm not enjoying with this reading. Ultimately, then readers will get angry on your paper and they will give negative comments on your research paper. Right? And perform a thorough literature research for trustworthy and most up-to-date information. That is what. Even if you have done your research maybe during 2018, now you are submitting your paper again, you have to refine that references, because Relevant to work may be published very recently. You never know. That is what always add a very up-to-date information on your research paper. For example, 2020, you have done your work, you are submitting at least 2 to 3 papers from the 2020 year of publications. And that is very important, right? And to provide solid evidence and sufficient supporting arguments in the favor of your research finding. But many of the cases, we compromise the evidence of your research because even you add any figure in the XY plot, it should have a scientific finding. And it should have a scientific reason that how the proposed research it improves the overall system performance. That has to be, summarized, right? And provide, write your paper with only details about the research work. Many of the authors from the African countries, still they write many of the, the stories in the introduction part or maybe in the conclusion part. So you do not write any stories in this introduction or maybe in the conclusion part. You have to write about your own research. That is what always narrow down to your own research and cite your references very appropriately. That is very important. Many of the authors they do not, refer the, correct research paper. Even they do not add the correct research paper and what they come across. So most importantly, cite a few papers from ITES Wiley. While submitting a paper to ITES Wiley, please cite at least 2 to 3 references from the same journal. Because as an editor, I always happy to read or to handle the manuscript if they could, if they could cite at least 2 to 3 papers from the same journal. Because it will help the editors to, to identify the suitable reviewers for that particular paper. Because once you refer 2 to 3 papers from that ITES Wiley, once you are submitting your paper to that particular journal, I can easily identify the reviewers. According to from your references, I can invite them. So they are happy to review your paper as you have cited their work. Accordingly, they will give very favorable decision. This is very important point while submitting the research paper. And don'ts. So do not misrepresent any information in the paper. It implies that even if you get the efficiencies even 80%, do not misrepresent the efficiencies about 95%. Always you should be true to yourself. That is very much essential in the scientific research. Do not include anything that doesn't answer the questions. It is very important. Sometimes you will write a novel converted topology, but you have simply studied and simulated the existing converted topology. But while writing a research paper, you will write a novel converted topology, or someone write a new converted topology. And of course, the readers or the reviewers can easily identify your area of research and where what you have done and what you would be able to analyze. So that is very important. So be true to yourself and be honest. Don't add any unnecessary details. Keep it relevant to the point. So sometimes they add unnecessary details in the paper. You wanted to impress the reviewers as well as the editors, so you will write unnecessary details. And that you, especially your personal thoughts should not be reflected in the research manuscript. Someone your research paper is getting delayed. Your PhD is getting delayed. Someone you write in the research paper at the end of the conclusion or in the end of the references, dear editor, due to my personal problem, I couldn't be able to complete my PhD, and please help me to get this paper published. Sometimes they may write their own personal expression in the research paper. Obviously, the editors they always, they are very honest. They are true to the journal policy. They will reject your manuscript. So do not express your personal thoughts in this journal. Do not exceed the recommended word limit, because if you do not respect the journal guideline, obviously editorial board members they get angry, they will reject your paper. So do not make too many generalizations in the paper. Should have your own voice. So while writing the paper, you should express your thoughts by yourself. Do not copy and paste from some of the sources, and it increases the similarity, and again there is a problem of overlapping content. And do not write for the sake of writing. Make sure that each of your findings support the cause. This is very important in the scientific research. And whatever you plot the curve, it should have a scientific evidence that yes, I could be able to get this characteristic so that I can identify the particular research, it improve the system performance. So that has to be highlighted. Right. So don't forget to reference any supporting by other prominent researchers. That is very important. Whatever be the research papers you are able to come across, that all the papers should be highlighted, should be cited appropriately in the journal content. So don't forget to add the research paper, and don't use others' work without replacing the sentences. You have to avoid copy paste business. Many of the authors, as we are all non-native speakers, we blindly copy and paste the content from other authors. Simply we submit our research paper. Sometimes it may get accepted, maybe, but maybe after a couple of years, maybe after 5 years, they will identify that you have copied some content from the other paper, then you will be punished, right? So the submitting the paper, always you follow online submission system. I mean, all the journals, they have their own online submission system. Just you register your name with the institute email or the Gmail. And as far as ITES journal is concerned, always you have to register with only institute email. Please remember. So you cannot register with your own personal email like a Gmail, Yahoo, or Reddit mail or Hotmail, and that they are at the rate of 123. They never accept. They always accept the paper submission with your institute email. That is very essential. But any other journal, you use any of the personal email. But for ITES violate, you have to use your institute email. And the inclusion of cover letter is very important because while submitting your manuscript, the cover letter is very important. So that shows as you are interested to submit the paper to that particular journal. And maybe if you are submitting for the special issue, you have to highlight as you are submitting to special issue in this particular journal. And complete the required forms like terms and conditions are including copyright, everything, or licensing, everything has to be, our terms and conditions that has to be, accepted. And some category of editors in ITES and the editor-in-chief, managing editors, and associate editor. So associate editor, the role is to pre-screen the article and the review process assignment. So he is a key person who is interacting with reviewers. So he is a person who is going to handle your manuscript, associate editor. But the category of editors are very important because it is very helpful to know because you might interact with each categories. Because as an author, once you are submitting your paper to the ITES Baile, that will be initially handled by editor-in-chief. Basically, it is a very honorary post by eminent personality who publishes papers in the particular area of research. And it is mainly concerned with the main content, the quality. Then the managing editor is basically a non-technical person, basically administration that will be appointed by the publisher. And that also, he also interests to, read to improve the writing and maintaining a consistent style and suitability to the journal. Then after, and the pre-screening can also be happen by the managing editor. So he will pre-screen your article with the help of authenticate. Then once your manuscript process the initial screening, then it will be assigned to the associate editor by editor-in-chief. So associate editor or editorial board member. So his role is to pre-screen the article again. How the quality of the paper and what would be the organization of the paper. He will go through the paper. He will go through, and then after he finds the paper is of novelty or some worthy for publication, then he will invite the reviewer for peer review. Right. So initial screening will be editorial office, and he will check the appropriateness of the subject. That is what whether your submitted paper is within the scope of the journal or not. That is what that will be screened by an editorial office, and for compliances with instruction, what would be the overall quality sometimes. Then they pre-screen your article with the help of similarity check by cross-reference. So ITES Baile, they use Authenticate, developed by Thomson Reuters. So with that software, they will they will submit your manuscript to this Authenticate. Then it will pre-screen your article. What would be the similarity score? So as far as ITES Baile is concerned, the overlapping content or the similarity of your manuscript should not be more than 20%. So if your paper is similarity more than 20%, immediately it will be rejected in the editorial office itself. So once you submit your paper today, maybe in couple of days it will be returned that it has rich in similarity, so that we are not in a position to proceed further. Like that, you will get an email. So always try to reduce your similarity as much as possible. So that is very important. It shows that there is an originality by the authors in that particular paper. And the peer review is very important to find the quality of the paper will be done by the expert. So evaluation by experts in the field purpose to help the editor decide whether to publish the paper or not. So as a reviewer, you are helping the editor to take the decision, because reviewer is an audience as he is reading the article completely, so he will find pros and cons of that particular research. So he can recommend to the editor that this need further revision or this can be rejected, like. And moreover, the peer review is used to help the authors to improve the paper, whether or not the journal accepts it. So these are the two important purposes that most of the journals they follow peer reviewing, right? So I mean, according to the reviewer comments, I mean, once the repeat review is completed, it will be notified to the associate editor. Then, based on the peer reviewers' advice, then associate editor evaluate its own. Then he will recommend it for final, that is options, maybe the decision maybe accept as it is. That is very rare. Most of the cases they go with accept with the major revision or reject and do not resubmit. But in some cases still your manuscript is excellent, only there is an organization problem. Organization is not good, maybe they may take the decision accept with minor revision. But as a researcher, 90% of your paper it will come up with accept with major revision. So please keep in mind that no paper can be accepted as it is. Always it needs a very rigorous revision. So then once he take the decision, then he will recommend his recommendation. He will recommend to editor in chief for the final decision. Right. So this is the peer-reviewed model of ITES journal. And once you are submitting here, then it will be pre-screened by editor in chief, and then he will find the quality. Then after it will be rejected due to not meeting the basic criteria for the journal. Then once he find the quality is good, then further he will process and he will assign to the editor. Editor assigns at least 2 reviewers. In Wiley, at least it will be handled by the 2 reviewers, and based on the reviewer advice, then editor will take decision. He will recommend to editor in chief further. So once your manuscript will come up with revision, then again it will go back to again editor. So editor again he will handle your revised manuscript, and further it follows the peer reviewing policy. So finally your manuscript will be accepted at this stage. So you can see, so ultimately it takes minimum 6 to 8 months for publishing your research paper. So this is the standard peer reviewed model of any of the journals. Okay, please remember that. So it takes minimum 6 to 8 months to publish your research paper if your paper is of quality, right? And once the paper will come up with a revised version or revisions, and then you go to revise and resubmit the paper very promptly. Indicate what revisions were made. So you have to indicate, highlight the changes in the manuscript, and moreover that should be included in your cover letter as well as in the repeatal. And if you disagree with the requested revision, explain why in your letter. For example, one reviewer has given the suggestion, please include experimental result. But you are unable to do the experiment in 2 months or 3 months time, and still you cannot satisfy the reviewer comment. Then you can state politely to the reviewer that as we do not have an experimental setup, as it needs extensive funding, we are not in a position to do experiment. But however, I will take into the account of your advice, I will do in future. Like you can write the reason very politely. That is very important. Try to find a different way to solve the problem that the editor or reviewer noted. Right. So the answering the query. So while you are submitting the revised version, and you go to answer for the associate editor as well as the reviewer very promptly. Some topics of the queries like inconsistency or missing information or ambiguities or others, that has to be summarized, and that has to be responded very promptly by the authors and advice. Respond promptly, politely, and completely yet concisely. And once the paper has been accepted after a couple of revisions, then the reviewing proof will come. So the reviewing proof is the typeset material to check. So once the paper has been accepted, maybe in another 24 hours or maybe in another couple of days, you will get another one email from the editorial office for the proof check. So in the proof check, and especially that is relevant to the completeness, of all the components and accuracy of the data, including typographical error in the text as well as in the references. For example, in the references, volume number is missing, or the page number is missing, or the publisher name is missing, or maybe the author's affiliation is wrong, or author's affiliations are different. These all the corrections will be done in the proofread, but this is not the time to rewrite the paper. So the content cannot be modified, but only the missing information, or maybe in the references, or maybe author's affiliation or author correct name. So that can be modified in the proofing read, right? So once your proofread will be done, then in another couple of days that will be appeared in online as an early access or maybe in press content, so that you feel happy that you can share this good news to your supervisor as well as to your institutions. Maybe you satisfy the norms and the standards of the PhD degree, then accordingly you can give your snap camera, you submit your PhD thesis. Maybe in another 4 or 6 months, you'll be awarded PhD through again peer reviewing done by Indian examiner as well as the foreign examiners. So this is the way you can accelerate your research. So it is not an easy process because it takes time. So it is not it is not a day competition. So it takes time it takes minimum of 3 to 4 years to get your complete PhD by publishing at least one or two good quality papers in SCI indexed journal. Okay. So, and this is the important thing I wanted to share with you all. For past, almost 1.5 hours, I will be able to give these, lectures in this particular area, that is peer-reviewed model and the publication process in ACA indexed journal. And thank you very much for Dr. Kirubagaran, who has given me an opportunity to share my ideas about my editorial experience in the paper publication process and peer-reviewed model in, ITES Wildlife Journal. Okay, so thank you again, and thank you, dear participants, for your kind attention. Hope you might have enjoyed my session. If you have any doubt, and please let me know. Thank you very much.
Participants, if you have any queries, you can ask.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir. Can you hear me, sir?
Yes. Good afternoon. I can hear you.
This is Prabhakar from Tech Engineering College, sir, Chennai.
Please.
Yes, sir. Your presentation is really very useful to all of us, and we have came to know about a lot many information related to that editorial process. We first thank you, sir.
Yeah.
And here I just had some queries, sir.
Yeah, please.
And moreover, we may get some ideas related in reference papers. Is there any other medium to have a rephrasing, sir? The contents which have been extracted, is there any other mode or any other software we can able to adopt, or we can able to believe that rephrasing, sir?
Yeah. So usually that is what the editorial services. If you submit paper to even ITES Wiley and even the journal in section, you can find that is called editorial services. So that will be done by the English export by the journal. By the journal. Editorial as well, or they will appoint kind of editors for that particular purpose as well. So, or you can privately, you can submit your paper to, you can submit your draft to that particular editorial services. So they will completely rewrite your paper wherever you commit a mistake, wherever there is a typo or grammatical, and he will completely, rewrite and refine your paper with a complete, like a new draft without any overlapping content. So that can be submitted to any of the journal and all. So usually Elsevier, they have the editorial services, IEEE, they have the editorial services, Wiley, they have their own editorial services and all. So there you submit, ultimately they avoid all overlapping content. So it is good to shape your paper before submitting. This is very important. So that, see, just spending 20,000 rupees, maybe 200 or 300 US dollar, and still your manuscript will come up with a good shape, because the English is very important. So it should have a proper flow between each and every paragraph and each and every sections as well. Sometimes that is what I told you. If your research is a very groundbreaking research, but still it cannot be published because of poor organization of the manuscript, or the presentation was not good, still this can be rejected, so it gets delayed. Even sometimes it never be published as well. Yes, I appreciate your question. Yeah, it's still, especially we Indian authors, we face the difficulty with this kind of, because of the lack of English skills. That is what I always suggest you to keep on read more number of research papers relevant to your area of research, so that you will be able to form a sentence by reading more number of research papers, so you can increase the vocabulary, so that you can get a good information, good insight to write the sentence as well as to write the research paper as well. Okay. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thanks for your suggestion, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, on behalf of our management, our principal, or HODs, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks for accepting our invitation and delivering the lecture on publication process. I'm sure the participants would have been highly benefited. The session was highly informative. And once again, I would like to extend my heartfelt thanks. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, yeah, thank you very much. And if you have any doubt or any support to your participants, you can email me, and definitely I will support you. I will help you in this regard. Okay, thank you very much, and have a nice day. Okay, I shall make a leave.